Um, Good morning. Good morning, Antoine. And I'm happy to have you here today.
Yeah, good morning.
I always like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, a little short intro, and then we go back in time because as people from this podcast know, I'm always interested in the person behind the company and the person behind the technology. And please, the stage is yours.
Yeah, so I'm Antoine. I have 31 years old, okay? And I'm the co-founder of the and CTO, in fact, of the company called Botronics, which developed the golf trolley of the future.
Um, Robotics is a very hyped topic at the moment, and you see different applications popping up. We come to this later on. First, really would like to understand. So, where you're coming from? How was your education? Your the environment that you grew up. Your maybe brother or parents or sisters, engineers or non-engineers. Let me know what you have.
Mhm. So I'm from Belgium. That's the first thing. I went to the university near Brussels, and I'm working since 8 years now, 8 or 9 years. Okay, I start mainly in software in big companies. I was a consultant, so software and AI, I would say AI, let's say machine learning and so on. Okay, and then I dive into robotics like a few years ago, would say 4 or 5 years ago, as a hobbyist first, and then for Botronics now.
And is that something that runs in the family? So very often the people that are on my podcast, they have family members that are engineers, software engineers, hardware engineers. Is that something that you're very familiar when you grew up with, or is that something that is totally different from the rest of your family?
Totally different. I'm the first one who made university, in fact, so who went to university, the first one in my family. So yeah, really different. Yeah.
And is there, I mean, you don't need to tell me, but sometimes I had, for example, I had some guests there where their parents were farmers, for example, or the parents were teachers, or is
Mhm.
that something, because I'm really trying to understand what is the environment that a person needs to grow up to become not necessarily an
Mhm.
engineer, but a builder, a founder. Maybe you can tell me
Mhm.
a bit.
Mhm. Well, my father worked with wood. I don't know the exact title in English, but
Hmm.
yeah, he's independent. That's maybe from him. And my mother work in a bank,
Mm.
so
Totally
that
different, yeah.
not really. Yeah, she's an employee, so that's quite different. Yeah, indeed.
But maybe your father being an entrepreneur is something because you're, as you said, if you're very independent and you do know how to understand how to build something, how to sell it, how to compete with others, how to get new customers,
Mhm.
it's a struggle. It's a continuous struggle versus being an employee, which has its own sides. But do you think this was
Mhm.
something that you have been presented and affected on very early?
Well, I would say there is a big difference between independent and entrepreneur
Yeah.
as well. So that's really okay. I saw something I love with my father job, which is not the manual things because that's not what I like really. I like using my brain more, and I'm not really good with my fingers, I would say. But yeah, my he deals with customers and so on. That's what I love, indeed. But what I love as well is the HR things, dealing with employees, with
Hmm.
suppliers as well, and so on. So that's what I love, in addition to being an independent. Because I could choose to be a consultant, but as a freelance, you are independent, but that's not really the same thing as entrepreneurship.
And so you went to university, and that was you said near Brussels, and is that you would like to maybe you can dive a little bit into it because I have a lot of people. They are maybe thinking about what can I do? There's so many things you can do, right? How should I choose from all the different kind of things? Should it be hardware? Should it be software? Should it be something totally
Mhm.
different? And how is that for you?
Yeah, it is really difficult. At the very beginning, I know I wanted to be a software engineer, so that's the
Mm.
first thing. Okay, I mean, robotics engineer, there is a software part in robotics engineer, right? I was not an electronical guy, not a mechanical guy, really about software.
Mm.
I wasn't aware it was for robotics at the very beginning. It was like, okay, let's say software. I was a student back in the days. I wasn't aware of accurately what I want to do in the end. And then, yeah, during my master, I covered topics like machine learning as well, and I was like, "Wow, that's really nice." I wanted to start with machine learning when I start working, but in fact, in Belgium, it was in 2017. There was, in fact, nothing in machine learning. I mean,
Mm.
it was the early stage of machine learning in the world as a whole, but in Belgium, we are a bit late, maybe compared to others. So I would say that's why I start with pure software engineering stuff. But
Mm.
I missed something. I would say I wanted something more, and that's what I love robotics. Is that in fact that's they are close to each other in the end, robotics and AI, because it's quite difficult today to create a robot without using AI at all.
And not staying in the software side, but really then at some point becoming a hardware guy. You were mentioning that there's different fields in robotics also, right? So
Mm.
was that something that was still happening in university, or was that happening something afterwards?
Afterwards, yeah, totally afterward. In the university, I was really focused on software, and then I start robotics and it was like, okay, I need to create some electronical stuff on breadboard and so on. Of course, I had some um, basic knowledge of electronics and mechanics because of the university, of course, because during my 3 first years in the university in Belgium, it works like every engineers are together, and then you have to select a
Mm.
specification during your master. But that's why I had the basic knowledge, and based on this and YouTube, I was able to start some basic circuits and so on. And so now I can, yeah, I'm still better in the software part, but I can deal with electronics and mechanical consideration. Of course, I have some help with my colleagues, which are stronger than I am on those topics. So
You said that you've been working as a consultant first, and I think it's yeah, I do think it's fair to say it's very unusual that people that are talking or good at talking with customers, with colleagues, um, then decides to do something on their own and not staying in the consultancy place, but then like building something. And robotics is especially hard because there's so many different departments that comes to robotic, right? You were mentioning a few things, the software part, the electronic parts, hardware parts in general, and control. So there's so many things to do. And when you're coming from consulting, I mean, you do have an engineering background, so that helps. But what did it make you? So what was the point where you decided, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I would like to do something else.
well, that's true that I choose the difficult road, I would say, because yeah, as a consultant, it's a bit easier. I mean, that's really a difference. That's really independent. You don't have to manage a team. You have that's when you have your client. You have mainly one client. At least in Belgium, that's how it works for a lot of consultants, and so that's quite easy to. I mean, the financial plan and so on. That's quite easy. You don't need a big financial plan to estimate what you will earn and so on. But yeah, the velocity of those big companies where you can be consultant, because most of the time you are consultant in a big company and not in a small one, not in a startup, because of the rate and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The velocity was a bit really too slow for me,
Mm.
and it was difficult for me to understand why I was doing stuff. I mean, like, okay, I have a lot of passion, and I'm like, I do this for politics. Why do I do this for I mean, inside politics of big companies, and I don't understand this. I want to contribute to something evolving, something, a
Mm.
product that evolves over time, and that wasn't always the case in those kind of big companies, and that's something I wanted to work on. So that's why building a product, it's really what you have in the end.
And getting out of consultancy and doing your own thing. So is that maybe you can give us a little bit background forming this company? Because I do talk to a lot of people that are in tech, that are still in academia, or that are in a company working in R&D or already building a product, but then making the decision, no, I want to build something on my own. I don't want to contribute to something versus I would like to do something entirely new or not new, but maybe doing something better. So really becoming an entrepreneur, using the knowledge and expertise, maybe getting together with other people that are covering the blind spots of my expertise and then doing something new. How did this come together for you?
Well, in fact, so I have a co-founder. I have the CEO of my company, who has the idea. Like back in the days, he was a consultant as well, and he was like, for the same reason as mine. He was like, okay, I need to do something else. It was during COVID period, and he was alone at home, and he was like, okay, I need to find an idea, and that's he's a golfer as well.
Mm,
And that's how the idea starts, and then he come to me and say, okay, I know you know robotics, you know AI, I think you can help me on this idea. And that's how we start. So I had a lot of help to go from a consultant as an employee. That's quite important because you are not employee anymore. So that there is two steps: you change your job and you change your status as well. I mean, so and so he helped me quite a lot on this part. But yeah, I regret nothing. Okay.
mm. And so there was an initial idea, and then what most founders struggle with. What am I focusing first? Am I focusing on building a product that works 100%? Am I focusing on, because if I don't rely on any money that I have on my bank account, do I push out something that is not 100%? What do I push out? Do I start with, because you are both having experience in consultancy, do I continue consultancy to fund this, right? To get some money to build this. What do I build and how do I build? How do I know what customers want? So there's a lot of questions I throw out here in the air, but maybe you can pick a few that you're interested in and tell me
Mm.
about this.
Well, yeah, there is something we learned the hard way, I would say, is that we are engineers both, both of us, and we start with building the product, and we were like, okay, we need a product, not really the final product, but at least an MVP and so on and so on. And we didn't look to the market size, to the financial stuff, and so it was an issue. I think that as an engineer, I think that all the engineers will do this mistake, but that's really a mistake, I think. Okay, so focusing on only the product is really not the way to do, I think.
Mm,
um and so yeah, we had to compensate this issue later, and to understand our market a bit more, and so on. So that's, I would say, that's the main issue we run into. And yeah, for your information, when we start Botronics, we we raise funds to create the company with triple F, I would say, so friends, family, and fool.
mm,
Um, and it was, yeah, so that's how we did it. And we were like a bit too optimistic, I would say, because we said, okay, with this we are able to start the company full time, and then we will raise fund 6 months later with I would say a seed round or something, and it will
mhm.
be easy because you have 6 months to do so. No, that's not the way it works at all. So we had to go back a little bit to consultancy, to services, to earn money, to survive, in fact, mainly. And now we are back full time on the product, but that's not really how you think it will be.
I think this is something that is totally normal, right? So a lot of people are afraid because they don't have figured everything out, right? So do this is my business model, this is my product, these are my customers, this is how big is the market. I already have this kind of funds to get me through the first 2 years because these are, I just mentioned 5 different topics, right? And every single topic of that is hard on its own, but combined, it's even more complex and even harder, right? So I think this is what prevents a lot of people in building their own stuff, building their own company, doing their own thing, fearing. And I mean, as you said, it was much harder than you expected, and it took much longer than you expected. So
Yeah.
the fear is real. But what made you still said no? I want to do this. I mean, it is much harder now, and I need to go back to consultancy for a bit to finance myself. But I would like to continue doing this. What was that? What would be your suggestion for other people that are running through the same problem?
Passion. You need passion. That's yeah. If you don't have it, if you build it for money, it won't work. I mean, you must do this because you love what you are doing daily, and that's really what I want to do now. Okay, that's to create on this product, to create on this company, to create this space where everyone is motivated, and that's really what I want to achieve now. So that's what gives you the strength to continue, I would say.
Hmm. Um, you said that you paused on product development and go back to consultancy for a bit. I think I can imagine that this is very not depressing, but this is very like bringing you back to on Earth, right? So you said within 6 months I already have a product, I can raise some money. So because when you're consuming social media, this is what all those internet gurus are telling you, right? So and then you see those big people in tech that raise so much money, and then you think, maybe I can do this too. How was it hard for your ego to accept that this is not the reality for you? Was that hard? Was it good to have a co-founder here and discuss those things? Family and friends, was that help?
Well, indeed, being two is an advantage in this context because yeah, you have when you are working in a startup, you have a highly high position and a very low position as well. You understand, like okay, you are really happy, and the next day you are really down because of something happening. That's really what happens in a startup, and so being two is like when you are in the down, back to earth, as you said. That's really an advantage. That's something. Um, but it wasn't too difficult to go back to consultancy because yeah, you know why you are doing this. But indeed, that's a bit different because yeah, it was 2 days a week. 2 days a week, you are working for a company where you are only like doing stuff you have to do, and you don't talk about strategy and so on because that's big companies and that's not your role. And then you are back on the real stuff, on your stuff, where the conversation are really different. Okay, so that's a bit different. Yeah.
So biting the bullet and say, okay, I need to go back to doing consultancy for 2 days a week. It was easy for you because you knew what you were doing it for.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That's really the reason why you are doing this. Is really what will bring you to your objectives, I think,
Hmm.
because sometimes you have to fill in files to get money from public funds or some kind of things like this, and yeah, it can take a lot of energy. But in the end, if you remember why you do this, that gives you a lot of strength.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm asking this kind of question because, I mean, this is not a technical podcast, right? So this is a podcast really showing how it is to become an entrepreneur, and you do
Mm.
need to hear this kind of stories over and over and over again, and then
Yeah.
sometimes every now one or two persons maybe think, okay, so it's not my fault. I'm not a bad engineer. I'm not a I don't I'm not a bad entrepreneur. It's just part of the process that sometimes things are not going as fast. Sometimes things are more complex, and sometimes I do need to go back to my earlier job to make some money to continue this journey and don't give up. continue doing this. Have someone who you can talk to and who can help you when you're up and who can help you when you're down. And so there's a reason why I ask these questions, to have people listening to people like you who are building a company
Yeah,
and would like to
and
do the same.
investors that like engineers, entrepreneurs, I would say they really like it. They really like tech companies because yeah, that's people who have the brain to build the product and they can learn the other stuff as well. Not as good as those people who made those studies and have experience in it. But yeah, I heard it quite often. And another thing I like to share is that yeah, I heard someone said once a startup. It takes a lot of time for startups to die, and I think yeah, you can think it's a bit pessimistic, but that's not really pessimistic. I think that's quite optimistic. It means in fact you have your sandbox for a lot of year when you start your startup. You don't at the very beginning I was like, okay, 6 months, we have 6 months to live, and if we can't raise funds, we are done. We have to die. And that's not true, in fact, because we wasn't able to raise funds in 6 months and we are still here. Okay. So yeah, that's really interesting as a quote, I would say.
So people should be aware that it's not a straight line versus it's like it goes up and down, it goes up, it
Yeah.
pauses for a while and then it goes up again. And I think another quote that is very similar is your main job as a founder is just to delay because your startup will fail. It will fail, but your job is to put this as far in the future as possible, right? Because we have seen
Yeah.
so huge companies that have been so successful, and at one certain point they were not. I mean, Nokia was at the 2000 was the biggest player in mobile phones, right? So there is no Nokia anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of these kind of examples that uh, your your job is it to delay the
Yeah.
extinction of a startup. Nice. And so now that you are so this lays behind you, right? So the beginning of the startup. Now let's go a little bit into, because you said that you're interested in HR, that you're interested in these kind of things as well, like talking to customers. So where are you guys now with the product, and how did you come up with the product itself, and how would the product develop? This is something I'm always very interested in.
Yeah. So we just end up a crowdfunding phase here. So we sold 300 trolleys in a crowdfunding phase. So yeah, now we need to industrialize our product to deliver the backers of the crowdfunding end of this year, beginning of next year. So that's really where we are today. So for now, we have a fully working prototype, or CEO, which is golfer, as I said, play with it every week. So we have feedback from him. We have some ambassadors playing with it. That's
Mm.
quite interesting to have those ambassadors to get feedback. That's really difficult compared to pure software, okay?
Hmm.
Because when you read books like Lean Startup and so on, Lean Startup, they say, okay, you deliver as fast as possible to your customer and get feedback. Yes, that's true. But in robotics, it's a bit different because let's imagine for a golf trolley, then an ambassador need to play, I would say ambassador or beta tester need to play 18 holes. It means 5 hours with your trolley. If after, I mean, maybe at the half of the course, the robot stop following for a reason. Okay, you need to push it until the end of the course. He will not use it anymore. I mean, that's not the same thing of a soft of a SaaS. Where with a SaaS, okay, it doesn't work. You say, okay, close the browser, and that's it. You will not die with it. Okay, that's really where the experience is different. So that's different. The difference between theory and practice. Okay, so that's why we have like 12 ambassadors, because we don't want to. We need to achieve a higher degree of maturity when we deliver to them. Okay, with your CEO, that's a bit different because you can say to him, okay, let's do 3 holes instead of 18, or let's do only one, or let's start trying it on a small course. So yeah, but we can't ask it to our ambassadors. That's not the same deal.
Mm. I mean, I was asking you specifically being on the podcast because I wanted to show that robotics is taking place not only in manufacturing and not only on super fancy humanoid stuff, blah, blah, blah. Um, because robotics is now at a stage where it can come into your home, right? I mean, Tesla and all the other companies, Figure and 1X, they're all promising us having humanoids at the end of 2025 here in our homes, right, doing stuff. But the reality will be that will take a little bit longer, and the first adoption will be products that we can. I mean, I had a guest on my podcast last year, and it was a vacuum cleaner. So, autonomous vacuum cleaner that understands this is a glass that you just put down because you're lying on the couch, so you don't need to run over the glass, right? These are toys for my children, and the toys are, it's not dirt, it's toys. And so even though you think it's just a vacuum cleaner, it's not a vacuum cleaner. There's a lot of tech behind this. There's a lot of AI, like the vision to understand what kind of objects. What I'm trying to get at is, I was interested in you doing something that is, I mean, there's a lot of technology involved in the equipment, anyways, but bringing robotics into that is something that I haven't seen at all, right? So, but people do play golf, right? So, I am interested in your take on what I was just saying. That you think there will be a lot of more adoption coming? Do you think that you have here first mover advantage? How was that when you started bringing robotics to that field, combining those two fields?
Well, today people are buying golf trolleys because they need a golf trolleys. They don't like anything on their golf trolley mainly. Okay, we made some surveys on a lot of people, and they say, "Yeah, I need a golf trolley, so I have a golf trolley." But yeah, that's because I need it. Okay, what we are doing is we digitalize the golf trolley. That's much more than a golf trolley. That's a digital caddy. You see, the caddy is only for professional players, and now it is for everyone, in fact, because we digitalize it. And that's really what we bring to the market, because today the most advanced trolleys is a trolley which is able to follow the golfers based on the remote control the golfer has on itself, but
Mm,
that's it.
mm,
Okay, and what we bring is a large screen, a bit like a smartphone, on it, so that you can have some guidance on which club to use, the distance to the holes, and so on. In addition to autonomous behavior, so you can go to the next tee by itself. It can, of course, follow you in the end, but it can do much more than that, because sometimes it's not the right behavior to only follow the golfer. And in addition to this, we worked on user experience, because we don't want the golfer to have to remove his glove, for example, to start to use a
ah,
remote control, and so on. We want him to talk to his trolley, or to show some, based on some gesture, he is able to understand what you want to achieve. That kind of things to make life easier for the golfer.
is there's a saying that sell to rich people because you make more money. And I'm asking this question because you were just talking about democratizing the availability for caddy, right? So there's two things involved in here. First, making things more available and cheaper, so it can serve a bigger market and can help people that don't have access to that. But golf, maybe you wouldn't disagree because I'm not a golfer myself. I have a few friends that do golf, and I think there's cheaper way around it. But overall, I think the playing golf is associated with um, you need to be able to afford it, right? It's not like soccer. Every single kid who can make their own ball and play outside. It's something that there is some sort of prestige also as that, and you don't need to go into it into deep if you don't like. But as an entrepreneur, you do need not only to be excited about technology, you do need to be excited about margins. You do need to be excited about profitability. You are in charge of making your company live longer. And is that something that is a byproduct, and where you think you would like to position yourself as something that is exclusive, or you would like to keep it available? Is that something we are able to discuss?
Yeah. So for now, that's clearly a premium product. Okay, that's a trolley which will be at 5,000 euros in the end. So that's
Hmm.
quite expensive for a trolley, but again, it's much more than a trolley. That's a bit. I like to compare it with Nokia, as you said, and the smartphone of today. I mean, back in the days, nobody will put 1,000 euros in a Nokia. Okay, but today there is the smartphone who digitalize in fact the Nokia or the phone, the mobile phone. I would say that's a bit the same thing. Okay, today in the most advanced golf trolley, you have a small electronical circuit so that you can remote control it. But okay, now we want to put a computer in it so that we can really make remote update first. We can really give some advanced features. We can communicate with the cloud to get some additional again additional AI and so on. So that's what we can bring now. Okay, so that's really, and based on this, of course, a bill of material is quite expensive and more, it cost much more than what you have of current golf trolleys, of course. So that's why we need to address the premium market first, a bit like Tesla did
Mm.
back in the days. They created the Model S, which was quite expensive, and then no Tesla is not on the premium market anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So using the premium to finance models that are more accessible.
Yeah, I think at the end that will be the logic. But for now and for the first years, we only focus on the premium market. We
Mm.
will see then. If you want to bring down the technology, maybe we will need to buy cheaper components and so we will have less features. We will need to I would say use some other materials for golf trolley because today it's aluminum because golfers love trolleys in aluminum. Maybe we will need to put some plastic on it. I don't know, but
Hmm.
I mean, the idea for now is really the premium trolley. If you see the trolley, it's really with thin tubes and so on. That's really what golfers love in trolleys today. So that's really our focus today.
Thanks for the insights. Very interesting. And how big is the team, if you don't mind me asking?
We are only five today, so we
Yeah.
have uh, without considering the CEO, which is also an engineer, we are three engineers. I don't consider him as an engineer because, yeah, in the working on the software, hardware, on a daily basics, I would say we are only three,
Hmm.
and I consider myself in it, even if I do much other things as well. So yeah, only three to create the product, and then you have the CEO, which work on with the investors and so on, daily CEO task, I would say,
Mm.
and then you have a business developer, which is here to to develop the business as it suggests. In fact,
Yeah. A lot of tech founders, as you said, they have a different train of mind, but it was hard to get this kind of mindset, and um, other skills can be learned easily. This is not ranking them. This is harder than this, but I mean, we do know the quota of how many people are starting in a engineering degree and how many people are really succeeding through it, right? And we do know that the first few semesters are always they're very hard math and physics stuffs and electronic stuff. So it's really kind of a filter. Only if you can make that through, then you can have the base and the foundation and the knowledge to understand the things that come afterwards. But it is hard to, if you have that kind of mindset, and I see this over and over again, to then sometimes put yourself in the position of a customer, for example, right? Because you're building a product and you're spending your entire day on the product, and you and your colleagues. So everything is very clear. Every bug is clear. Every UI, UX experience, everything is very clear. And then, as you said, you're working together with some ambassadors, and you're sitting there and you don't really like, you're unable to understand. So why is this a problem? Why is that? Why are they complaining? So this is very clear, and not understanding that no, the way that other people see your product is from a different perspective, and having this ability. Is that something that you say you guys becoming better at, or was that something that you did very well from the beginning? How is that for you guys?
I think we learned it the hard way.
Okay.
So that's really something interesting because, yeah, at the very beginning, we focused on the product and it was like, oh, this product works very well. And then we had our first ambassador, which is an early adopter. So, I mean, he is in the technical world as well. But we were like, okay, that's quite easy. You need to go there and just do this, da, 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 and it will work. And then we look at him, it doesn't work at all, and we are like, okay, that's not the way he should do. And in fact, he doesn't know what is behind the scene, what is working, how it is working. And so that was really the hard way we learned, okay, we need to talk a little bit more with our customers. That
Yeah.
was like 2 years ago, even more, I would say.
Mm.
But
It,
that's really something important because, yeah, as an engineer, you focus on the product, you don't go out of the office. And of course, in the end, that's why the learning startup, lean startup things and so on is important, I think, is to say, okay, go out of your office, talk with your potential customers, understand the pain really well, and then, yeah, put your product in their hands so that they can try it. At least that's what we did in the end. We were in like, you go on a golf course during a competition, you stay at the beginning of a hole and you say, okay, if you want, you can try your trolley during this hole only, and you go with him so that you can understand and get the feedback. That's a better way to start with. For example, start
mm,
small, but at least you don't create frustration and you can get feedback.
mm. Um, when I talk to other startup founders or startups in general, the the thin line between I do need customers, but I do need partners also, right? So people that understand that this is not a 100% fully working product that has been on the market for 10 years and there's only tiny improvements because it's already perfect. So you're bringing the product with 85%, 88%, 92%, but it's not 100%. But if I buy something, I don't go online and buy a mobile phone expecting it to work 92%, right? So you said early adopters, ambassadors. It is hard to here get the right people and having them the right mindset, and but also having on your own the right mindset. Is that something you said you learned the hard way? But is that something that you said that you have 12 ambassadors, right?
Yeah.
And is that something that you have a dedicated person doing that? You said business developer, or is that the kind of mindset that you do need to? What kind of customers I would like to focus on? What kind of people are the right customers? Is that something that you have through those five people? Is there a common understanding of what you guys doing and how you guys are doing this?
Well, so in fact, we made some advertisement that's based on people coming to our website, that we said, okay, that's our ambassadors. So anybody could become an ambassador back in the days. But yeah, I don't know if it is the right option, in fact, because in addition to this, we sold the trolley to ambassadors because we wanted to test the price as well. And that's really is aligned with what you said. That's, yeah, you need to sell, but you need to give it to people who knows that it isn't perfect. But when you sell something, it must be perfect. And so that's why I'm not sure it was the right way to do, but that's what we did. We sold the product to 12 people and they play with it, and they, yeah, then we had to talk with them because some was unhappy, some were happy. But in fact, talking with them and saying that's a long journey and we will update it and so on and so on. They understand the logic, but it takes time, of course. You need to really talk with them like weekly and say, okay, now we focus on this. I know that this feature is not working 100% of the time. Yeah, it was quite difficult sometimes. Yeah.
I really like that you said this feature, because this brings me to the point of a lot of startups early on trying to give their product away for discount, for free. They do POCs. They really would like to get the foot in the door. They really would like to get some people's hands on to show that this is delivering some value. And feature request is one topic, right? I mean, you sold the units, so there's the difference that you have people invested, like really invested and really committed. Because when you do POCs or when you have early customers, very often it's like, yeah, I would like to have this, that. Like you're focusing on a lot of features, but there's always the difference between nice to have and I'm willing to pay for, right? And here the question I'm asking is, how was it for you guys? Because you have 12 customers, not people that are just using the product. So there is money involved for people. How were you able to focus and prioritize, because you're only 5 people, right, and 3 builders? So what was your strategy behind and execution behind prioritization and focusing? How was that for you?
Well, mainly talking with people, I would say, because in fact, there is also a really interesting thing is that it depends on where you are geographically speaking. There is a concrete example. When we start saying, okay, you could talk to a trolley with a microphone, a lot of people in Belgium said, oh no, I don't want any noise when I'm playing golf. Okay.
Mm.
And then we talked with some people in the USA, and they said, "Oh, whoa, that's really great because we already play with Spotify on our speaker." Okay, you see that there is a big difference between both, and so
Mm.
we were like, "Okay, so you can only say okay, all 12 ambassadors covers the pain as a whole, because in fact it really depends where you are playing." And so yeah, that's really talking with people, going to shows in the USA, because USA is of course a big market. uh, Even in Europe it's quite different, depending on where you are playing. So that's really the way to prioritize, is to say, okay, each time someone is saying this feature is what I want to get, you can bring a small I would say cross or something next to the feature, because it means the prioritize is higher. But that's really, yeah, that's the way to do so. In the end, it's all about statistics, I would say.
No, exactly. This was what I was aiming at. Not having a gut feeling, but really writing down, talking to people, taking notes, and formatizing and analyzing what you have. Because the saying is, if uh, you can only improve what you can measure, right? And if you don't measure, then
Mhm.
you cannot improve. So I really like that you guys somehow I mean, somehow you did this kind of thing to really understand where should be my priority, right? Because I've seen over and over that some startups are prioritizing all over the place. So there's a customer that comes up with a feature request, or there's pain.
Mm.
I would like to solve it. Like everyone
Let's do
should go to
this,
this
yeah.
problem, right? Everyone is going to this problem. But then there's another customer that falls down behind the table, falls down. So there's another problem popping up. So, and making the decision, you cannot serve every single customer, right? So this was something
Yeah.
I learned in the past, and really like that you said what you just did is just very basic, taking out my piece
Mhm.
of paper and just taking some notes and writing down the crosses, and then see which problem has the highest number of crosses, and then do this.
And there is something else as well, is to, in fact, as an engineer at the very beginning, it was like, okay, you need to make a market study, okay?
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, market study, okay, 1 week, okay, done market study, that's it. But in fact, that's never done. In fact, that's
Mm.
as a product, the product is never finished. Okay, fact, the market analysis as well. I mean, the very beginning, the market analysis, we went to a golf club and we asked questions to people. Okay, they like it, they don't like it. Okay, that's it. But no, because no, we know that, for example, in the USA, it's really different. But you need to continue this effort of going and talking to people and continue this market analysis, because it's a never-ending story as your product is, and that's quite important for engineers, I think, because I mean, at the very beginning, I was really like, okay, to do in progress, done, that's done. That's funny, but that's really the way I was thinking back in the days.
I think this is one now that one of the most favorite parts of today's episode. What you were saying, that because this is actually something that not only you, as I think every single person is who is building some stuff or who works in this kind of environments might have this kind of assumptions, right? And it takes a little bit of real life experience to understand all the right input. As you said, you were mentioning YouTube videos earlier. There's people like me or like you talking about these kind of topics, and but really understanding that this uncomfortedness, I don't know the English word for it, but like this is a continuing state of being uncomfortable. Because what you said was, this is a task. I said, okay, this task is for 1 week. I'm finished with this task. So it doesn't matter how hard this task is. After 1 week, I'm finished and I don't need to touch this task anymore. So I'm glad, right? Versus, nope, this will be on my timeline forever. And I will never get rid of this. I always need to keep this in the back of my mind, because that is some sort of uncertainty that is you're dragging through product development, customer relation, but also business development. So this is a continual part. So I really like that you're sharing this point.
Yeah, that's really, yeah, there is a lot of other things. That's like investors. I was like, okay, so we have 6 months to find an investors, and then after 6 months, we are happy with this for 2 years. And that's the way it works. No, that's the same thing. Okay. Financial stuff is always on your line. So it's always a source of stress as well, because yeah, you see the money and you are like, whoa, 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 will the company survive in the end? That's always the question, and that's also a never-ending story. Talking with investors is always, I would say, you can't say, okay, now that I have their money, that's it, I'm okay with this. No, you have to keep them informed to prepare the next round and so on. That's really a never-ending story. The same as the product, the market analysis, HR stuff is the same. In fact, you have always to keep growing and to talk with your people and to see if everything is working correctly. So that's really, the business model is evolving also always. I would say, if I compare the business model we did 2 years ago with the one we have today, that's really different. And we thought back in the days that it was done the same way the market analysis was done, but no, that's that's never done as well. While you are a startup, I would say.
And do you think that because I was becoming towards the end of the podcast, do you think, and this is like you said, there's a huge difference between 2 years ago and today, and you were mentioning all the stress that will continue happening, and you were just mentioning a few topics. I mean, at one point, you hopefully would like to get rid of the investors, but then you have the paying customers coming in, right, with the same kind of questions, and you need to get in, you need to continue talking to them and sell them new features and expand and blah blah blah. So there's a lot of how can you still be happy being an entrepreneur? What makes you go through that kind of stress versus, as you said, 2 days in a consultancy? You know, you're not involved in strategy. You get hand over some stuff. You take the stuff. You do the stuff. The 2 days are gone. Next week you come over. Somebody gives you some stuff. So how can you say this journey is still much better and without? I mean, not much better, but why is this something for you? Why do you think this is inspire? This can be inspiring for other people?
I would say pleasure first, and then knowing why you are doing it. I mean, building your own product. That's really it gives you, you know, why you are doing it, and the pleasure of working on the field you are loving and so on.
Because I mean, when you're working on a product for a company as an employee, you're also doing and building something, right? But you're not doing it for yourself. So do you think this is the main difference?
No, that's knowing why you are doing it. That's not. I mean, when you work in big companies, at least in my own experience, a lot of time you don't know why you are doing it in the end, and
Mm,
that's the issue.
mm. Because I think, let's say it's a bigger company, but you would know why you're doing this because the company has a very transparent and very vocal and open kind of communication. Would you think then, in this case, you wouldn't build your own company?
I would say that there is something more the velocity. When
Ah,
you are
okay.
building a startup, there is a velocity. I mean, you can deliver really fast because you are the best in the world. Okay, you have the best team in the world. You have people who are here to go faster and to continue the way the work. And so you don't have any constraint, a lot of processes and so on. The only constraint you have is money, in fact. And the fact you have only 24 hours a day.
Mm,
So
okay, okay. Yeah, I really like the how happy that you are what you guys are doing. I always like, I mean, it's like watching people playing soccer. I'm not a huge soccer fan myself, but it's nice to see people doing something they really like and they're really good at. So it was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm not a golfer myself. I do have a French friend. He's big into golf, and I will ask him if he would have a look at the product and maybe
mhm.
you have a new customer or ambassador. In Brussels is not something that I'm very familiar with. In I haven't been there, and but I do see that there is more coming out now. This kind of startup scene is growing. Is that something that you can feel as well?
Well, I don't really feel it. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I'm not sure. I think it's quite constant for now.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I feel, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, in Belgium, you have really the south part of Belgium where we speak French, the Dutch part
Mhm.
in the north and Brussels. And in fact, I'm aware of the south part on how it is working because of the events are always between people from the south, people from okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's another debate.
Mm, okay, okay.
And so I'm aware of what's happening in the south part, but not really on the other part of Belgium. I would love to, in fact, but
This
yeah.
is very good because this as a closing line. Maybe we can continue this conversation afterwards because yeah, there's a lot of European acceleration. There's a lot of hype at the moment among startups. Like we do need to get rid of the bureaucracy. We do need to get rid of the separated market. We do need to get rid of a lot of hassles that are because the journey of being an entrepreneur is hard enough, right? So why making it more hard? And but as I said, this is maybe for another topic, for another time. I was very happy that you said yes, Antoine, and that we found a spot. And yeah, I wish you guys all the best, and looking forward to see new updates on my feed.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me and see you next time.
Yeah, take care, and let's see if I maybe I should start golf, but that's for another one. Okay,
That's a good idea. I
deal.
can provide a trolley if you want.
Take care, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Yeah, see you.